Okay, I'm testing the audio here. Got a couple barges and stuff tonight, I'm thinking. Remember I did this one a little while ago, but I like these kind of monochromatic ones. Analogous, I guess. So we'll play with those. Seems to me that I need a good brush for this business. And that is not a plug for my brush pack, which is on sale on ArtStation right now. I'm joking. No, actually, I think I need a... I'm going to have to go between a soft brush and a more mechanical looking brush here. So let's see this. We'll block in the major shapes here. And go from there. Let's see. So we're doing these the rigging and stuff on this vessel here, and I guess you could pretty easily take this overboard and get too scribbly with it. But that's my favorite part. Going overboard with the scribbles. The rigging is really, I think, what makes these vessels fun to do. So you block in that major shape, and then you just start throwing all these little fiddly bits. Uh-oh, baby's crying. He's generally a happy baby, but it is 9:24 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that is when babies decide not to cooperate anymore. Okay, let's see. Bring in the value on the sides here. Do I want to use a gimmicky water brush for this? Yes, I do. So we're going to go down to specialty brushes, water, 3. And we're going to get this nice and small here. Now really, to do this properly, you gotta do it on a separate layer. We are not feeling proper tonight. Just gonna do whatever. Really, I think a vertical stroke would do it. It's got quite a bit of I don't use this too often, so I gotta get used to it every time. But it it has a opacity fall off and a size fall off, so Gotta start in the background, and you come down. You just take a harder stroke as you go. But no, we'll keep that last one. Whatever. Okay. So let us. You know what? We'll group this. No, we won't. We won't do that. We'll group them all later. Let's just make a couple sketches here and deal with it later. All right, so let's go back to our... Let's do a little more aggressive brush. So I think the nasty square oil variant will be a pretty good one, because it should just give us, yeah, these nice solid opaque colors here. I'm going to go a little bit more orange on this one. Orange. Peach, as they say. 'Tis peach season, by the way, if you're into such things. And I remember when my dad had planted these peach trees. We're up in New York, so it's not ideal necessarily for peaches. But it took a little while, and then these trees finally started to fruit, and it was so much that the branches were breaking off the tree. To get out there and pick them so that the thing didn't tear itself apart. But that's a good year. That actually was the last. It was the last year that we lived in that house, because we put it on the market, and then the peach trees decided to celebrate that we were leaving, I guess. And so that was like the last, well, the only time we ever got peaches from those was the year that we left. A good story, Eric. That's a good one. Yeah, thanks. So yeah, peaches. Not only is it a color, it's a fruit, grows on a tree, and they're delicious. They're amazing. So some friends of mine were showing their harvest of peaches just recently, and I'm jealous. That's all. Okay, so there's some context here. Isn't completely random. I was baited into it. All right. So we'll bring another vessel in here. Yeah, I like how aggressive this brush is. This is a nice way to work. It's it takes a little more thought on the color choice side of things. Where you have to decide how you want things to blend together, and then choose those colors, rather than going with a translucent or lower opacity brush, so that you're blending a lot. In this scenario, you're really not blending, which I think is nice in terms of design, when you're thinking how you want these shapes to come together, so on and so forth. Let's see. Just had like a deja vu moment. Like, I feel like I've said this a million times. It's almost like you have to hedge the statement with an apology. Like, all right, I know I've said this before, but blah 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 blah. But that's actually kind of interesting. Well, I shouldn't say interesting. If you find it interesting, then it is. But art tends to have these very simple truths that repeat themselves, and they don't become any less true by by knowing them and then moving on to the next thing. It's still, they're pretty foundational things, I think. So, and this is something that I think I kind of had to relearn a little bit, which is another funny thing about doing this kind of thing, is that you tend to circle back, or at least I do. I tend to circle back around to all the stuff that was like interesting to me 15 years ago. And now all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, that's like relevant again, because maybe I see it in a new way, or have been lazy with it. Haven't respected that concept, right? So the shape language thing is something that I'm just rehashing, rediscovering, looking at that again and trying to figure out how I can improve that. All right, so let's go to texture jitter. Whoops, a daisy. Now everyone sees my desktop icons and I'm exposed to hackers. Oh boy. Let's see here. I like how this, in the reference image, these are, this is so much crisper here. This comes up, and then you get a nice edge there, and then it gets lost up in here. There are some buildings back there and stuff. More like towers, cell phone towers, or cranes or something. Let's see, we'll bring this here. That'll do. No, maybe something. Maybe go a little bit brighter in here. I don't like that. I like the saturation, so maybe I'm just going to shift the hue over rather than the saturation and value. So the value will come up naturally. And then in here, we can bump that up a little bit too to echo what we're seeing in the sky. Let's check on the chat here, and I see Adonis is in. What's up, Eric? I forgot to ask last time, but when's a good time this week, next week, for us to meet up? Are you, well, I guess we can work that out on Discord, but these days, probably middle of the day is actually better for me than most evenings, just with the kids and everything. So the contract work has been pretty light. I'm doing some kind of smaller stuff, and I'm doing some stuff with Fantastic Tanks. So if that works sometime in the day, that would be good. I think last time we talked, you had something you were going to get together, and we were going to talk about how you've applied some of the things we talked about last time. So If you're ready, yeah, let's we can talk for sure. Let me jump to another image here. That's interesting. Did that one before. Whoops. Oh, it's kind of neat. It's more clouds, but I'll pull it over so you can see what I'm working on. I don't recall if I've ever done this one before. I feel like I may have. And then this here. And any of these, I'm looking for the more graphic approach with any of them. So in some cases that's meaning silhouette. I don't think that's necessarily exactly what I need to do. I want to make more decisions about what I'm breaking down into graphic shapes. So let's see, this one we're going to go more in the red orange. And here across a little brighter. But yeah, to get back around to that, Adonis, just message me on Discord and we'll get your schedule worked out. I am pretty open these days in the immediate future. I have a few things that I've got to do, but like I said, with the kiddo here, evenings are probably the most difficult time to meet, but other than that, we can make something work. I'm going to switch to the smudge tool and blend that all together. And that actually, I'm not sure how it's coming through on the feed, but this is a desaturated yellow up here. So it's actually not, it's starting to come through as kind of bluish. And it's just by comparison with the other colors here. Okay. So I haven't looked into this much, but I saw that Lightbox was doing some kind of online thing. I don't know if anyone's interested in that. I think it's another. I think this year, it's just another online kind of approach. Kind of curious how that'll go. Last year I didn't, I signed up for it, but I didn't really I don't know, I was busy that weekend. I just didn't end up really doing much of anything with it. Let's see. Using the smudge brush again here and holding Alt to bring in to start the value that I want. So I'm gonna connect these. And I was talking about graphic shapes, and I'm getting away from that, so I try to reel that back in. So we'll have this shape in the center. We've got this kind of faded here. This color actually is really kind of faint, and I'm going to downplay it. Okay, and let's bring in some clouds. And let's do that. Natural drag, I think, would be a good one. Go a little bit darker. Go even darker than that. And a little bit less saturation here. And we're going to brighten that up as it gets closer to the sun, the horizon line there. Make that really rich and intense. And then we'll bring in our sun. Actually, I might go a little bit darker. I don't think it has to be, you know, you don't have to just go full, you know, white or whatever. You need it to be relative to the scene. Okay, and then we'll bring in our boats. Let's see, how do we want these arranged here? And I think we'll just go back to the textured color jitter to bring the reflection in. as tempted as I am to go with a really hard reflection, I think we'll just keep these soft. Okay, so merge that down. All of these I'm just going to add a, we'll use the Nasty Stair standard, and I'll add a mask to them. So I think they're actually, whoops, not so bad. I don't know if the mic is picking that up, but the poor little guy is sad up there. Kept us up most of last night. He's been a really content baby for the most part. We've been very fortunate about that. The last 2 nights, though, have been a little bit on the rougher side. And I sometimes like to bring in the edge a little bit with the eraser, just as a nice texture to it. Though it can kind of draw the eye in a little bit too much on those edges. So try to be careful with that. Be careful. Quit being so reckless. Nope. See, do I like having that cloud in there to close in the foreground? Yeah, maybe that's better. Down there. Okay. Kind of want to do a few more, but I think I'll do the obligatory overlay. We're playing with lighting quite a bit here, so gotta be careful. Tread carefully, sir. Said the man as he approached the painting without any regard. Let's see. This is amping up the color, so I need to be careful with that, particularly on this image where the gray is important. Downplay that cloud so it's not whoops stealing the spotlight here. Before or after? Kind of like the texture in there, so I'm gonna go just a little bit smaller. And I don't know if this was helped at all by the way that was adjusted before. Now I'm going to come back to this one. Let's see what we got to do. What do we have to do? I'm going to transition these two the values from this dark to this light over here. You get it nice and even so that it does not appear to be does not appear to be a separate kind of entity there. And then one of the things I like about this as an example is that it has this nice crisp edge here that fades off into nothing, basically. So I want to play that up a little bit. And I might just have to paint over that to get the effect that I want, but the overlay with smudge here is not a bad start. Somewhat beg to differ, sir. Alright, let's see. Let's grab that value right there. So I want this to be just merged into one thing here, and then separate and kind of fade off into nothing there. And I like that kind of warmer tone as it transitions. And I might tighten that up just a skosh there. Alright, I guess we do another. What do we have here? It's kind of hard to do ships without doing clouds. Alright, so this is very different, but I think this would be fun to do. It's a pretty cool shot there. So let's see. There's the overall blue tone to it, but I'm going to see what we can get away with. We're still in that yellow area there, and because we got all this other stuff around it, it's not appearing that strong. Let me change to let's do this guy. Though I think we do need to end up, you know, the more I'm looking at this, I think we got to be in that zone. So I'm just looking, I'm seeing two kind of colors here. There's a blue, and well, it actually almost has some green in it, and then there's a purple, and the two would kind of vibrate against each other, but they're both pretty desaturated. So we're going to set this up. Just looking at the chat. And by the way, I bought your Painting brushes a few weeks ago, and I absolutely love using them. Awesome. I'm glad you're getting use out of them. I think they're good brushes. You know, I don't know why I'm so reluctant to give a sales pitch, but I think it's just because brushes are so oversold, and though they are important, there's other important things, but they work the way I want them to work, these brushes, and that's not an insignificant thing to me. You know, I recall getting a lot of brush packs early on in my career, and some of them were just wonderful. I remember using Goro's brushes, and Brown Thierry, his set of brushes were great. Then I remember getting a bunch of brushes that were like not really useful at all, you know, like they were stamps. You know, so you had to use them at a specific angle, you know, for a certain perspective in your painting. And then there were a number that were just textural, or they just weren't great for painting. You know, didn't really have that, follow that mark or anything. So anyway, they were a great launching point for learning how to make brushes for me. And so if that interests you at all, crack them open, use the brush preset or brush settings, and then just go through like section by section, play with things, get them to do interesting things. I know that's not everyone's cup of tea to look under the hood, but I definitely think it's worth it if this is your medium. Like if you were working in oil, you would think at some point you might like take a look at your brushes and take a look at your palette knives and stuff and decide, yeah, I think I'd kind of like this to work a little differently, and then make decisions about that. Oops, how did that happen? So yeah, I'm glad you picked them up. Glad you like them. Which ones are you using the most? I find that in a given painting, I'll use 2 or 3 at a time. Just kind of whatever I'm in the mood for. So the most common ones are this one, the chunky smudge, and I use the W head flat a lot. That's a good one for blocking and for blending. Sinful onion is a nice one for like really kind of loose paintings. And then nasty square standard is one that I like to use a lot, and the chain rake for erase. And I'll use this one to bring in texture. Some of these other ones are a little more niche, like the foliage. It's not, I wouldn't say niche, but if you're doing outdoor painting stuff, you're going to use foliage a lot. But you can still get the same. You could get that roughness of foliage with like the nasty square or the cut cross. So yeah, I end up using a few of them at a given time rather than jumping around a lot. Of course, tonight I've been jumping a bit. I get this water in there, this angle. So I actually think I've made a little bit of a value miscalculation here, looking at the reference. This is actually my brighter point. Alright, we'll bring this in down here. And then this down here. It does get quite a bit darker, doesn't it? But I don't know, I don't want to get too carried away. Alright, so we've got the ship goes from like here to here. Let's do it again. I'll go back of the ship, up this way, and then the front, this comes out to here. Pretty basic landmarks here. Actually, I think I'll just leave that a little bit rough. rough edge. Some of the jets are off the edge. Though I'm blocking that in, I should probably just jump in with the color that I want for those. Rather than dancing around it. There's a kind of a pink gray here on the base, and then it transitions to a kind of a steely blue on this side. Give it a little more saturation. Okay. These are almost like teal green here. Go a little brighter with that. Pick up the pace here. I'm starting to bore myself. Okay, that's interesting. Very deceptive angle there. And this goes from, let me adjust my tablet here. See, this kind of shifts over in value, or in hue, comes down in value a little bit for these lines right here. I'm going to come down even further on the value on those. I'm gonna block in some shadows here, and then we'll build up the objects on top of them afterward. These things are huge when you think about it. You know, I'm looking at this. I'm drawing these shapes and these little bits and stuff, but then we're gonna put some jets on top of this, and they are just tiny little things. That's right there. Okay, let's get some of those items in there. So we got this. Move over towards this green teal. And these I think I'll use the lasso tool. Get these shapes in. So I'm cutting out the shape for the cockpit. I'll go ahead and paint these in so you can kind of see what I'm doing here. I'll do these on a separate layer. That way they're a little bit cleaner. So when we zoom out, we should get some more to the effect. And then if we wanted to take those, we can add some other angles in. So there's other angles going on here, but right now I'm blocking in the light. go. And there's this little, well, actually we'll get to that later. I was gonna say there's a little orange fiddly bit in there. I'll go ahead and make it that way, but it's actually, that's something I might come back and go over top of in a different way. So we got another one of these guys. So I'm actually just gonna copy this, move it over. Instead of doing all that, we might do a little bit of, you know, we'll change the angle. Then we got a couple jets here, so I'm gonna go. I'm not sure what these are. These F-15s maybe. Planes on the back here. Oops. These end up being a little bit darker. Maybe go a little lighter than that. Really tending to exaggerate some of these pieces here, which is interesting just to observe yourself as you're working. I don't know why, you know, some of those things seem, I don't know, they jump out more maybe, and I tend to flatten them out, make them larger than they are. Okay, then we got, can't quite tell, looks like maybe there's some like crates here, and then there's another vessel, or not vessel, aircraft there. And then we got a few more. So we got one of these guys again. Little radar doohickeys going on there. Okay. And then we got a whole row of planes that appear to be facing this way, to our right. these are all a little bit in the darker spectrum, and then we'll just copy that a bunch, because there are a bunch. Okay. And there's a few down here to wrap it up. And it's got that folded wing there. We'll go a little more saturated with that. And there are two of those. And then there's one more. Okay, and one more that I didn't notice here. Let's see. Get the wings folded up. Get the drop tanks on the bottom. Okay, that took a little while, but there we are. So now I'll go back to the layer underneath. Let me switch to, let's see what would be a good brush here. I guess we'll do this one. Has a nice variation to it. And I'll swap the back color there. Smaller, a little darker. Bring the second line here. Actually, I'll go darker with that. So there are some little bits of light in here, but the relative value, because that's so much darker there, I want to get these. That's pretty dark gray there, but get it down even further, frankly. Would look more correct to what we're seeing, even though that's the light value. This value in here. So now that we've got those planes drawn on a higher layer above all this, we can just kind of work in all of these structural details behind. That angle is a little bit off there, so we'll see if we can clean that up. Okay, there's another bit that comes off here. Just getting these pieces sorted out. It's just going to be my repeat mantra. A little bit, a little fiddly bit right here, a little fiddly bit right there. Okay, and then this comes out here. And okay, I'm going to duplicate this, go to my smudge, and I'm going to start blending some of this in together. I know there's a bunch of stuff I'm going to want to add here. So there's like this, well, there's a bright light coming in, which appears to be reflected sunlight. It comes in down here. I'm not sure what this is all about, but It's too cool for school, so we gotta get it in there. A little bit up here. A little bit on these guys. There. This guy. On these tail fins here. Just a couple of the planes are catching the light just right. We're going to blur those, and then we'll take this shadow color into it. Okay. Now I think we'll go with natural drag. Well, do we want this one or do we want, let's see, let me see that. Yeah. That'll work. And we'll start bringing in some more details. Probably zoom in for this stuff, huh? feel like the more the more detail I put in there, the more it demands from me, though, you know? Gotta get it all in there. You can't just imply everything. That's bad advice. Don't listen to that. You have to imply a lot of it. I'm just saying there's a threshold where once you start getting in too deep, then you're in it, and you're committed. Let's see. Yeah, I really don't like what's going on down here. I want this to work a little better with the water. And there's an interesting swirl down here I want to get in. Let's go back to this, which which brush was I using? Was that Gritty Fall Off? For those waves there. I wonder if these are lights, from the ship. They're just so strong down there. No idea. Something to go learn. Let's blend that in. Okay, and then we'll bring in these little swirls here. Right there. Break up that shape. Might expand it a little more here. Notice that it is clearly larger as it works its way away from the source. Yeah, I don't know if I made that any better or worse. I'm tempted to, I was going to say Alt Control Delete. Yeah, just force reboot. No, tempted to, Control Z, edit, undo, but, I prefer to just paint it, But what we can do, we can lock that layer, go to just a darker color here, and then just work it in around the edges. Like so. Well, let's do this. Let's lock. This is our planes, right? So, airplanes, also known as jets, and we'll bring in another layer of light to these as well. And we're just defining some of the angles on these, like these folded wings here. And there's an angle that's kind of facing towards that sunlight there, so it kind of is picking up a little bit of that pink. So I'm going to get that in there a little bit. On this guy. This one, a couple of them have it pretty strongly. This one here, that's actually more orange there, and then we'll cut some out of that. I'm not even really sure what's going on there, but that's picking up a lot of that light. And then we'll do like a dark blue for the base. Okay, let's see, we'll go back to the carrier. Yeah, almost like it better without that layer. And we'll bring in some details here. Let's do, we'll go with this one. So I went on board a carrier just this past year. It was pretty crazy. This giant city on the water, basically. Pretty amazing. A lot of trust going on there too, though, you know? Like, this isn't like your town or something where you can just up and move if you don't like the way it's being run. Or you don't like your neighbors, you know? You're kind of stuck on the ship. Gonna sharpen up some of these shadows here. We really only blocked them in at first, and so now we're gonna try to get those nice and crispy. And put some personnel or things down here. Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm kind of looking at this thing and thinking I'm just about done with it. Maybe, maybe bring in a overlay, you know, play with some of that, but I think generally speaking, I like what we've got. Yeah, let's do an overlay. So grab all this, group that together. May as well crop it while we're here. While we're here. Okay, and then we'll do our overlay. Let's see, I'm gonna just kind of squint at the image and see what I want to bring up, what I want to bring down. That's a little much there, but we'll return to it. And actually our light is in more the pink spectrum. And we'll just go with the smudge brush here. We'll drag that over. Okay. bring this back up so that this, you know, orange right here is still doing some nice work. You know, it's got to bounce off of something, right? So that it's not just all warms in that area. Bounce off of that green. Okay, then we got a blue. I'm basically just going to use this to, at this stage right now, to just kind of bring in some more of that blue color here. And then we'll dial it back. I kind of like that steely gray look, but we'll see. We'll shift that more towards green or teal. Desaturate a little bit. Lower the value a little bit. Bring that in on the transition. And we'll just bring some of this kind of like a textural feather, right? Kind of feathering that in with some texture maintained. I don't know, I don't want to get too crazy with that color bouncing back and forth there. You know, the greens and the kind of gray, pink gray there. Because what that's going to do is going to draw the eye in. And it can have a nice look to it, but it can be too overpowering. And I don't think that has to be that saturated there. What do we want to do? Maybe just bring it back a little bit. I don't know. I kind of like that intensity. Somewhere in there. And then let's do a color balance. Maybe curves. Okay. Maybe we'll bring in some color balance on some of these other ones. And so forth. Let's do color balance there. Working on this top right. Actually, let me just zoom in on it so you can see what. Give you the full screen. You're welcome. Mm-hmm. 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 Not sure if I like, I like how that kind of comes to gray there. I'm gonna have to zoom out again. Sorry, everybody. Can't work in close like that. I gotta see it as a thumbnail, Right there. That's my favorite. Alright, now let's see. This guy here. Do a color balance for this. I'll zoom in, I'll do it. Okay, here we go. I'm so tempted with all of these, I just want to go to this complementary, greens, blues in the shadows. But something tells me I need to knock it off. Because complementary color schemes, they tend to have like kind of an upbeat vibe to them. And I know that's like a pretty broad statement, but like regardless of your color choices, if it's a complement, it pops and it has this kind of like juicy, bright, colorful thing going on, unless you're really super desaturated. But I think it's hard to get a nice, or rather a more serious, moody kind of vibe out of a complementary color palette. Ew. Green. Actually kind of liked that one before. Give it just a little bit. And let's check this one here. Yep, and this I think I will change to color. Ooh. Yeah, I don't know about that. There we go, something like that. Can we change this background fill without destroying any of our images? Okay, it is 11:15. I think this is a decent place to stop. So we did a couple of silhouette images, aiming to kind of simplify the shape language and the color a bit, and then did something a little bit more ambitious with the aircraft carrier. Still very loose. I'll zoom in on it, give you a close-up on that. We did a little bit of lasso tool, but lots of textural brushes in there. Yeah, this was fun. Got the little wake on the back of the ship, and then the waves, in the background here are all very quite abstract and textural. So that was fun. These ones here, I'll zoom in on these. Just kind of top level sketches. Of course, you could come in and push some of these things around. Like with a very hard smudge brush, you could just kind of push these in, make these shapes a little more interesting, so they're not just so linear brush strokes like that. And then I like this brush. This brush has a nice, it's like the load kind of varies, whether it's like a thinner line or these thick blotches and stuff. That was kind of nice effect. And this, sometimes I would just go with the hard shadow and then try to break it up with the wave, and it was kind of nice to just imply something really quickly and textural. So that was fun. And for this one, I think I might just demonstrate that because I mentioned it. So I'll just take this and I'll just duplicate that layer and sample all layers is off. So I've got this smudge brush, and all I'm doing is I'm pushing this back and forth, making these kind of different sizes, trying to keep the general shape of what I had, but we're making it just a little bit more broken up, so that it's not that perfect flat line there. And sometimes I think it's nice to lose an edge, lose a line and then pick it back up. In a way we do it here, we have this blocking it and then it kind of comes back out. So, here, for example, if we were to push that away so that it disappears. But you can connect the dots, you can connect this line to that line over there. And that's probably sufficient. Really all we're trying to do here, that I'm trying to demonstrate, is that you don't necessarily want the same line stroke for all these things. In fact, when it's a painting, you're not necessarily working in line, and so you kind of want to break that illusion that this is like just one same, like almost like you did this with a marker or something, and even this here kind of does the same thing. It's like this edge and the way it's rounded, if you can tighten that up, then it doesn't feel like that was kind of worked into with like the same brush this way and then brush that way. So little things like that you can do to come in and clean up a sketch that you're doing at a top level. When we were doing this zoomed out, it didn't really bother us at all. And so let's go back to the level we were working at. Just something like this, and there you can see all the lines and all that. It's nice. And then clean it up a little bit. Same basic thing, but you've just got a little bit crisper. Could do the same thing with the rest of these, but I'm not going to, because I want to go to bed. So that's it for tonight. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for catching up with me, Adonis. We'll catch up more on Discord, and we'll get a time figured out. But yeah, been doing these weekly for over a year now. Wednesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern time, and the subject changes all the time. Always painting something different, whatever I feel like in the moment. It is just, excuse me, just for the fun of it. As always, I recommend you paint along. Come up with your own topic, whatever it is that you feel like painting, and just be working. And throw this on the side, on a second monitor or something like that. Or if you're just sketching, on a piece of paper or something, a sketchbook. Yeah, not to drag this out anymore. This is what we've got. I do these every week. Thanks for joining, and have a good night. Yeah, not to drag this out anymore. This is what we've got. I do these every week. Thanks for joining, and have a good night.